Next up, we actually have one of our own. The inimitable Dale Hopkinson is going to talk to us about the impact of IT infrastructure moving to the cloud and what that means from a licensing operations standpoint. This is well within his purview because he owns this as a product manager. He owns our software as a service function overall and our overall strategy for moving to the cloud. And as you look towards IT infrastructure generally moving to the cloud, licensing operations is an important part of that and often an overlooked aspect of that. So this should be a really great session. Stage is yours, Dale.
All right. I got to thank Brendan for doing the easy spot after lunch. Thank you very much. So we want to just sort of follow in line with what everyone was talking about today and to add some more context around the licensing aspect itself. As we go through these transformations, we see something interesting happen. Licensing becomes a mission-critical piece, in the ecosystem, as Brendan was speaking about. So we want to make sure that we understand the risk that we do have and how we sort of minimize that and really ensure business continuity. So I wanted to start with a quote. And I found a pretty good one from Rich Dad. Right? So one of the things I took from this, and we can all see, and the QSC actually team had a very, very compelling story around this. We see how they've continued to sort of innovate and reinvent themselves to be relevant in the markets. Right? We can all think about, of course, companies that fail to do so and their ultimate demise. But when we look at this quote, there's really three key things that we have to sort of pick out. It's innovation, speed, and agility. Innovation, speed, and agility. So, of course, if you want to maintain your relevance, you have to innovate. Innovation doesn't necessarily mean you move quickly. Innovate is just you're doing something new, you're reinventing. Sometimes you do have to do it rather quickly than others. But in all cases, you need to be agile. So it's not so much that you are agile, but you have to be in the position to change or to respond to market conditions should you need to. Right? So what's really the measurement, or how do we sort of define this thing of business agility? It really comes down to this metric we may have heard of, or we're beginning to track, time to value. Is anyone measuring, by show of hands, is anyone currently measuring TTV, time to value, with their solutions? No hands. One. Yes, there's one. So this actually becomes a key metric. When we look at sort of this agility, we normally think of it in two ways. Our time to market, or how quick we're provisioning. I think Brendan spoke a bit about the instant provisioning. So it's really the closer to the point of demand you can deliver to your customer is where you make a great impact. So as Brendan mentioned, one of the reasons that this agility is so much needed is now all revenue is seeking to be recurring. So when you move to this model, you're moving from a transactional value you provide to now a relational value. You have to continue to relate to the customer. You have to understand how the customer is using your solutions, where they could be using it better, identifying places you can step in. So it's really this point now you have to be able to pivot, because this may go against the strategy that you have already thought about. But looking at that data, looking at the customer, understanding the customer, you need to be able to pivot to meet their needs. So what are some of the drivers behind this? As many of the presenters said before, it's customers. Things would be good if it wasn't for customers, right? But of course we need them. It really boils down to customer experience. As we move to this model where we're delivering recurring value to match recurring revenue, it's about meeting the customer's need, right? So, of course, we have customers who want to use our stuff on multiple platforms: mobile, desktop, mainframes, public cloud, private cloud, hybrid cloud. Are we able to meet these platform demands? Are we able to meet the business models with markets we didn't think about, where they want a subset of the features, but maybe at a smaller price? Can we respond with new packaging? Right? Can we respond with data-driven intelligence to share with customers? Well, as Ray was speaking about this morning, we've offered a particular platform, but now there's some really cool and interesting things we're learning about the data that we can help customers with add-on services. So all of this really comes down to the customer experience. Another key metric you'll have to begin to look at, I'll speak a little about later, is customer lifetime value. Some people call it CLTV, some TLV. Right? But this becomes very critical now in a recurring model. Right? You can actually get to a place where you can essentially predict with a very small percentage of error the growth of the business, or the potential growth of the business. Understanding the lifetime value of your customer and the potential revenue that customer is going to bring in again, this is what it comes down to. So why we need to be able to respond in an agile manner. So of course, agility, it causes some change, sometimes some internal disruption in organizations, but we've all experienced some level of this today, right? So agility forces the way we communicate to change. Can you imagine a few years ago, all communication over inside the corporate network was over the intranet, right? And we loved email. No, we really didn't, but that's all we had, right? When we moved to instant message, but we can only message anyone within our organization. You had to have the same email address as I did. And we can only message if you were on VPN. Now, what happens when we have such a global workforce? This weekend, we worked on a project where one of our customers, we were on the same Slack channel together. We're instant messaging with our customer. Three countries, 5 time zones. I was glad when it was over. 1:30 a.m. I finally got to sleep Saturday. Right? But we're instantly communicating with our customers. This is unheard of. Does anyone use Yammer? 2 people. I have to talk to you after. We use it somehow internally. I have tons of spam that I don't know how to get rid of in my inbox, so I'll connect with you later to learn how to stop this Yammer spam, right? But the main point is again, the communication was focused on the intranet, but again, we changed the way we communicate now to have this agility. The way we do business has also changed. I remember when DocuSign first came out, it was really cool. I was, as a consumer, it was just quick and easy. We can buy things and say yes, and we can sign. But the first time I seen it used from a contract from our side, it was like this wow moment. And I began to think, wow, what happens at the end of a quarter if the fax machine was broken? Someone didn't make their number, and some salesperson can't go on the beach with, the President's Club somewhere because the fax machine was broken, right? Tough job, tough. I came from the sales side, so, I did enjoy some presidents. I would have been mad if it was a fax machine that prevented me from doing some things, right? But availability becomes critical in how we do business now. Where before it was okay to have this lag time, but we're in this always-on environment where we expect things to be available. Where we're shifting some of the risk from, we think of years ago, who would have thought an ERP system would be in the cloud? Right? But now availability from the business side drives this requirement. If we don't have access to the ERP system and I have an order I can book and I can't book it, I can't recognize that as bookings, which I may have hit the numbers, and we can go down the list of what the damage of that is, right? It's also changed the way we license. I was talking to a few of you today, and I have to rethink my story. I see I'm in licensing for 15 years. I've been doing licensing for 20 years. The first 5 or 6 years, I was kind of on the black hat side of licensing. I was a college student who, I didn't find the business model that, was matching my pocket, so I found a way to kind of bypass the licensing. There are a few vendors in this room. I'll apologize. I use this stuff without paying the cost, but I'm now on the appropriate side of licensing. Right? So now I'm helping you to not have the same pitfalls as you used to, right? By how? Changing the model and changing the delivery, right? Before, licensing used to be pretty binary. It's on or off. If you have legacy style, the dongle, it works. If it doesn't work. But now licensing is shifting as to be more of an enabler of business, right? We spoke about some things earlier, Brendan's slide, the provisioning, the entitlement, the usage, right? These are all things you get from a licensing solution to really play in an ecosystem. It can feed a billing system. It can feed a BI system, right? So you can drive greater value beyond licensing, beyond is it on or off. The way we deliver value is something that also changed. One thing, sort of owning from the cloud services standpoint, I'm really beginning to see that cloud is, we've been through a number of things of why adopt cloud and why not. But one thing I'm seeing from the software side is a key difference in how we deliver value to customers. Anyone in here do on-premise software? Okay. So we have a release date, and we celebrate when we make the release date with a small error of margin, right? But now after the celebration and we ship it, all of the customers upgrade and they love it. No, that doesn't happen? Ouch. So we've delivered some value to the market that the market is not getting the value of, right? They're not getting the value of our product development. So on-premise actually introduces this model where there's a continual gap of features and value we deliver to the market than what customers actually use. What I'm beginning to see now with cloud is companies who do this really well, they give their customers advance notice of the features and functionality that's coming. They may even give their customers an ability to play around with these things. So when they upgrade them from day one, customers have now the ability to utilize the value of your product development. And this is one of the true benefits of cloud, right? Is it changes the way we deliver value. We can now get to those things like instant provision. We can get a shorter time to value because now by delivering and educating customers of the new value, they're able now to achieve it quicker than the on-premise. Maybe we'll upgrade, maybe we won't. And even if customers upgrade on-premise, there's no guarantee they're using new features. They spend all the costs and resources to upgrade, and by the time they have the new version, they have no bandwidth left to now look at innovating with the new features and functionality that we've delivered on time, right? One quick polling question. Speaking of cloud, so we want to understand a bit of how far along are you in your cloud adoption strategy, all right? So anyone if you're already cloud-based within 3 to 5 years, if you think you'll always maintain a hybrid strategy or if you're going to stay on-premise. So you can do the thing and let's see the numbers moving hybrid. Oh, everyone is at least in the cloud. This is cool. So years ago we would have seen we're all on-prem and we will do cloud someday, or it's still in the cloud. Yeah, that's a pretty good representation. So another thing we see as we go to cloud, and Brendan briefly touched on this, is this new ecosystem that we have to understand that we're in as we deliver new value. As we deliver new and recurring value, there's a vast number of different things. We call it the digital supply chain. There's a number of new systems that we have to look at. Some may be new we have to introduce, or some we have to add on modules to gain more functionality. But you can see a number of these things, and one of the most critical ones is this usage tracking data. Right? Again, if you think about that, the why, the drivers for this business agility, one of the key things really, again, is you want to get to a high level of customer satisfaction. I think we have some other session that will speak more in depth on that today. To get that, you have to have data. Right? Ray Wang did an excellent job to speak about some of how we can change behavior with data, how we can understand customers better with data. If we don't have this particular data, we're not maximizing the value of recurring revenue, right? So another polling question. So from a data perspective, if you think about how you would drive decisions based off data you have, what type of data do you think or would you like to have to sort of drive decisions? Are these more the executive level reports where you're looking at things like churn and conversion, more of the operational level of reports, the number of transactions you're doing, or is it from the product management side where you're looking at configurations and products, etc., that you're sending out? Multiple choice, so this is going to add up to more than 100. Okay. This is interesting. The operational reports, operational and application usage, pretty tied. I learned something. Okay, that's pretty split between those two. That's interesting. So then a follow-up question. Do you have a solution for BI? Yes, the person in the corner with the Excel sheets. You have some commercial software, or do you intend to invest in the future? So what is the current strategy of getting this data? Excel. Lower than I thought. Spoke too soon. Pretty evenly split. It's about a quarter is Excel. Can you imagine Excel is still valuable? I should do Excel as a service. So looking at, again, so thank you for that. So looking at some of these, again, we see how cloud changes the way we deliver value and licensing changes, right? So where does sort of cloud licensing or license service sort of fit in? So what I've seen and what I've heard from a number of our customers, and this is, you can really plug in any, X as a service, right? It's not only licensing service that gives you these things, but number one thing is you're able to achieve faster innovation. Right, so again, as I mentioned before, you're delivering to the market, but the market is not taking the benefit of the new features. They're still focusing on delivering the same way. They're still focused on doing business as usual, but cloud can help adopt or innovate faster, right? How? Again, if you do it the right way, you're educating customers of what's coming. So once they have that new upgrade, that new release, they can immediately begin to see how that folds into their business strategy. So it's a timing thing. Of course, cost optimizations, there's lower cost of ownership. They can take that savings and fold into other strategic areas. But one of the key things, again, is this on-demand scalability. So moving into recurring model, customer base grows, right? It may grow at a rate that you didn't expect, which is a good thing if it's higher, but you have to be able to support that. Out of the slide I just showed, if one of those mission-critical systems go down, again, this is poor customer experience, which is now increasing the chance a customer will not renew. Right? So again, those systems that we have, the new systems in the ecosystem we have, they have to be highly available and highly scalable to support customer demand. So again, when we look at from a cloud licensing standpoint, that availability, we see availability sort of becoming this new key metric to support growth. Right? One of the things I've seen and industry shifting away from is this whole nature of in business continuity. You ask things like, what is the RTO, RPO, the recovery time objective and recovery point objective. Now it's, can't you find a way to not go down? Right? Why recovery? Can I be always on? Right? So it's interesting to see how things are shifting, and exactly with that, this whole recovery time, the continuity standpoint, is how do you have a system, again, with availability in mind that's highly available, that at the point of demand, it's accessible to the user, that they continue their experience with you, which increases the chance of a longer customer lifetime, which increases the chance of constant growth over time from the business standpoint. It's very interesting that, this whole how critical licensing has become. Is anyone have ever had the lovely experience of a licensing system go down at the end of a quarter? It was fun, wasn't it? A blast. Revenue is now a liability. Bookings are now a liability. Right? We can't deliver, so we can't recognize that. So we have to report a lower quarter. Right? So this is one of the key benefits. Now, if you have something on premise, you're responsible to build this out. You're responsible now to be the expert in understanding the architecture on how to build something that's highly available. We didn't do that for the ERP or the CRM or other systems, right? Because we expect that to be available as a core part of the service. So it's one of the things I also see from a licensing standpoint. So sort of coming to an end. So again, the key drivers of the adoption has been really a total cost of ownership. You want that to be lower. And this is with all systems. As I mentioned, again, you can do X as a service while I'm speaking solely about licensing today. One of the interesting things I'm noticing now is around this regulatory and compliance. So you have, anyone had GDPR fun? Yeah, this is my fun table. We had a lot of fun times together, unfortunately. Right? Yeah, compliance, they're changing, privacy policies are changing. They're going to continue to change, right? Do you want to have to reserve investments to respond to those things, or be on a platform that it gives you that assurity that these things are sort of future-proofed, right? Of course, there will be some shared risk involved, but the risk for cloud is usually much less than we think there, which is why we see a much higher adoption of cloud services in this day and age. But ultimately, the way we deliver value through cloud, it gives you that ability to be more agile. The less that the more you can focus on your core business, the more agile you can be, right? So if you have to think about systems to maintain, other third-party vendors to maintain, you can't be as agile as you want to, because you have to continuously think about, how am I maintaining a particular system that's not my own? So sort of the key benefits, sort of to lead into some other sessions again. So from an operations standpoint, it's really about reducing the time to revenue, right? And again, licensing, we can talk more deeper about that, as you can find me today. How we reduce in the business, BEC, jam, plug. We have an operations table over there that we can talk to some of these things. Same as product management. So again, product management, how you can get the ability to package and price and model new strategies and model new things with a licensing service. And really, ultimately, how you can drive customer satisfaction, right? I think we have some session about that today, but CLTV, again, customer lifetime value becomes a key metric if you're doing this recurring model. Time to value and customer lifetime value becomes key metrics that can help show the growth over time of the business or the potential that you have. So I want to end in another quote by someone we may have heard of, this guy named Bill Gates. So he says, success today requires the agility and drive to constantly rethink, reinvigorate, react, and reinvent, right? In this recurring model, we have to continuously please a customer who has changing needs, right? So we have to be in a position that we can react to those needs and continue to meet those needs, and as close as you can to the point of demand, meet those needs, the higher you're going to have a better customer experience. So thank you. That is all.